look, Sean, you were there in the White House. You know, President Trump had a plan. We were trying to work through a plan the summer of 17 to do a thoughtful and reflective withdrawal of the major military presence in Afghanistan and leave a paramilitary CIA special forces that could take care of the Taliban terrorist problem there, to make sure they couldn't attack their neighbors. They couldn't be a base to attack the United States. Remember, we were there because of 9/11. But I got to tell you, Sean, and you know this as a naval officer, to think about, was it 2,100 dead, tens of thousands of casualties? I think Brown University did an analysis that the net present value is $2 trillion in Afghanistan. There's $900 billion in cash, but you talk about all the PTSD and the Veterans Affairs. To have a guy who purports to be the commander in chief sit there today and says, I only want to talk about happy things. He owes the families. He owes the families of the dead and wounded. He owes the taxpayers an explanation. We ran out of Bagram Air Base. No turnover. You know this, Sean. There's no turnover. There was no ceremony. There was nothing to sit there and say, you know, the men and women of the United States died for a reason over there. And now maybe that reason has passed. Okay, and I'm a big believer, as you know, I fought to withdraw the troops, but to leave at least a residual there that was going to do more than just protect the embassy, that would take the fight to the bad guys when it needed to be taken there. We have forgotten how to win. And this shows you the rot in our senior level of the military, this woke military. And I think it cuts to the core of how unserious the Biden administration is, whether it's about the invasion of the southern border, about the finances of the country, the out-of-control spending, about the debt ceiling that's coming up. But I got to tell you, for him to sit there today and say, I only want to talk about happy things on the weekend that is about the revolutionary generation that not just signed and negotiated a Declaration of Independence, but then fought for it. In the days and weeks ahead, they fought for it. They fought for it. They fought for our freedom. And to sit there, this is a disgrace of this administration to fighting men and women that gave their lives and really gave up their careers to fight in Afghanistan.
You know, Steve, you talk about the bad guys. There's already talks about the Taliban taking over that base. What are the likelihoods of that, do you think?
100%. What do you remember when we withdrew from Iraq with Obama? They sat there and they went into the air base my daughter had been in with the 101st Airborne, that air base out of Baghdad, and said, hey, where's the warranty on the equipment you left behind? The Taliban's going to be there. There's no doubt about it. This is what is so, Sean, you remember, we at least had an organized program. By the way, that the generals dismissed and the neocons dismissed, no, you had to have big army there. They're going to be all over this base. This was no planning. We just kind of pulled out with no plan whatsoever. He even said, hey, I'm going to have you out by the anniversary of 9/11. And now they just pulled out and kind of in the middle of the night into this disgrace. The people that fought there and the taxpayers that put that money up and the blood and treasure deserve to have this done in a professional manner, not to run out of there between your tails, which the Taliban's laughing at you right now. They're going to take it over. And to sit there and say, we need to talk about happy things. I can't talk about this. The geostrategic reasons of Afghanistan are important, but I got to tell you, this shows you the shallowness and the non-seriousness of this administration.
I just can't believe how much money we've spent on the base, and we're just turning it over and saying, here you go. This is, I mean, this is why Trump, the businessman, would have never bought into this. It's one thing to bring the troops home. It's another thing to give a billions of dollar type equipment and outfit there away. But, Steve, I want to shift gears because you have been extremely outspoken on the threat that China poses to our country. Yesterday, we talked about the 100th anniversary of the Chinese Communist Party. Lindsay and I ask this question all the time, and I was dying to pose it to you. Is China too big to fail now?
No, I think the celebration shows you what the issue is. You remember in the Josh Rogan book, which I think was the best reported book about the administration so far, I was one of with Navarro, the heads of what they call the Super Hawks. We believe that the Chinese Communist Party is a transnational criminal organization. It's not a legitimate government. It has wreaked havoc, 100 years of chaos on the Chinese people. It's killed outright about 80 million to 100 million through starvation, torture, just killing them. It's killed 400 million abortions, forced abortions, 80% of which were little girls. This is the most murderous regime in the history of mankind. And that murder and mayhem and chaos has been on the Chinese people. It's destroyed one of the greatest civilizations in the world. No, not only they're not too big to fail, the nation of China and the Chinese people will not fail if we have their backs to confront, dismantle the Chinese Communist Party. And it makes me sick when I see CNN and the celebrities in Hollywood and the NBA and all this celebrating this commemoration. It's absolutely outrageous. This is a murderous dictatorship. It's the greatest killing machine in the history of mankind. And the United States has to understand it has to be dismantled root and branch.
Yeah, I feel like the left does not understand that right now. They don't understand the true threat that the Communist Party poses to us. But I want to switch gears again with you, Steve, because this week we saw the Trump organization, the CFO, get indicted in a tax probe. You know, the Democrats all the time, they've accused Trump himself of weaponizing the judicial system. But it seems like they have now weaponized and continue to weaponize our judicial process against him to take someone down that they hate so much. Will they succeed here?
Absolutely not. This is, remember, Trump went to the border on Thursday to call out the Biden administration and to announce on Sean Hannity, hey, I've made up my mind. Donald J. Trump is running again in 2024. It's absolutely no doubt about that, okay? This is all a plot by the Attorney General, Letitia James, the district attorney in New York, because they couldn't get President Trump on any of the other impeachments, any of the phony stuff. They had to trump up these charges for really fringe benefits to employees over 15 years to try to stop him. They're not going to stop him. This is only going to make the MAGA movement more determined. This is what happens in a third world country. This is what the Chinese Communist Party do to people when they get out of power. And this is why right now, from Arizona to Georgia, you see this 3 November movement. You see people going to these school boards for the critical race theory, the parents. The MAGA movement, the America First movement, the Trump movement is more engaged, more energized. You can see in your ratings every night. You've become an alternative to some of the other networks that don't cover this as thoroughly. This movement's on the march. Donald Trump's going to run for president again. And I got to tell you, he's not going to be stopped by a bunch of pencil necks in New York City. They're pulling up these trumped up charges to try to stop him. It's only going to empower him.
I couldn't agree with you more. I tweeted that out the other day. Once they put those charges in and he had said he was running, I was like, I know the answer. He is dug in. He's going for this. But I got to ask you this real quick question. If he runs again, and I agree with you, he's in, who do you tell him if he calls you and says, Steve Bannon, I need a running mate, who should it be?
I think there's such a deep bench of those, Sean, and it'll shake out. I mean, the good thing about this movement, it's got so many great personalities in it. I think that time will tell on that. But I think the most important thing is he's got to head the ticket. Look, we got to get to the bottom of November 3rd. We got to take the House, and we will take the House in 2022. I think he ought to be the interim Speaker of the House so we can impeach him. Biden. He can take the gavel from Pelosi, impeach him Biden in 100 days, announced for president. He's got to head the ticket. We're going to have a sweeping victory in 2022, I think 40 or 50 seats. We're going to have a sweeping victory in 2024. And the reason is the Biden administration have turned over the cards. The radical left, the woke corporations have shown America what's at risk here. I think people realize now that we've got to get to the bottom of what happened on November 3rd. We've got to win in 2022, and we got to back President Trump's play with whoever he picks in 24.
Steve, thanks for kicking off Independence Day weekend with us. Always appreciate your insight. Love the podcast, War Room. It's a must listen. I can't thank you enough for being with us.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Hey, I'm Rob Finnerty. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please join the conversation in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe, too. Hit the bell icon to be alerted to breaking news. And remember, there's a whole lot more on Newsmax TV, America's fastest growing cable news network. Newsmax TV, where real news for real people.